All right, y'all. So now, speaking of assholes, let's talk about Stephen A. Smith and Charlie Kirk. That was a good segue. So, Stephen A. Smith, the popular CNN host and board certified coon, recently broke his silence on political activist Charlie Kirk's controversial assassination. So, Stephen A. Smith decided to take himself over to that good old podcast of his, and the commentator delivered a passionate response to all, well, they said political activist. I would mostly call him, if I was going to steal from Jennifer Welch, it would be this. He's a political agitator. He was not a political activist, because activist is like fighting for something you believe in. This man basically made millions of dollars pushing forth a lot of hate amongst marginalized groups. If you are not white, if you're not male, he didn't give a fuck about you. So let's call it what it is. He was an agitator. So he delivered a passionate response to his online reaction, to the online reaction following Kirk's killing at Utah Valley University. So I do have that clip. I'm going to play y'all that clip, and then we will come back and discuss the rest of the story. Hold on, let me see if, because a lot of times, when I be pulling up clips, they don't be showing up. Okay, please hold.
Can't just speak about it. Can't just give lip service to when such a vile act takes place. And we're going to give lip service to the tragedy of the moment, and then within 24 hours, we move on with our lives like nothing happened. Something did happen. I don't care what his political beliefs were. I don't care what he felt. I care about the fact that a man was gunned down in front of two of his children who are 5 years of age or less. That he's dead at the age of 31. That his wife is a widow. That his children are fatherless. Because his ideas and his beliefs differed from somebody else, apparently. And then I'm going online and I'm seeing people celebrating it. Shame. Shame on you.
All right. Well, we all know that Steve, hold on. Now, because we got Keith Edwards playing his little fine self. But anyway, but it's like, you know what? Stephen A. Smith always been a coon and a buffoon and just loud and wrong whenever he opens his damn mouth. So, and maybe you should give a damn about what this young man's political beliefs were, because it indoctrinated, it fell on other people. And you being a rich black man, of course, you can curtail around that because it doesn't affect you. But any other marginalized, I mean, first of all, he didn't even see you as a human damn being. If you were dead today and Charlie Kirk were alive, he wouldn't spit on your black ass if it was on fire. So for you to sit up in here and tell people how they shouldn't celebrate or feel a way when this man celebrated the demise of other groups. Oh, his wife is a widow. His children are fatherless. What about the many other people who had children and were married, where he celebrated, where they were out here celebrating them Democrats that were killed a couple of months ago, shot in their home? Where's the same energy for that? Why is it whenever it's for white supremacy, it's literally this Samuel L. Jackson crying over his slave master in Django Unchained? This is what this is given when a lot of you ninjas get up online and start cucking for bigots, white supremacists, or just straight up bigots of any kind, I should just say. This need to, when they go low, we go high. Turn the other cheek. How about you sit and spin on this, sir? That's what you need to do. Because when it comes to politics, I'm going in and I'm letting have. So just in case that clip gets cut, let me actually read to you what he said, because somebody and there was a whole copyright thing. So yeah, this is just to protect. So in case I got to edit that piece out, he basically said, I don't care what his political beliefs are. I don't care what he felt. He's dead at the age of 31, that his wife is a widow, that his children are fatherless because his ideas and his belief differ from somebody else, apparently. It wasn't just okay. Now somebody was just out here saying stuff that was just different, and I don't mind a difference of opinion. I'm here for a difference of opinion. Y'all know if I have conversations with people, I love a debate. I love having difference of opinion with people. But how is this young man running around doing a whole thing called "change my mind" when it comes to certain things that he would say? But you weren't. I feel like that was nothing more than a slogan for him. That wasn't like something he truly stood by. Because if you're actually willing to listen to someone have a difference of opinion, when he was confronted, and I saw this video too, a guy and asked him about kids who were after school lunches. He's talking about they need to cut it and all this other stuff. So you're for the starvation of children. No, parents need to get up off their ass and get a job and this, that, and the other. Parents are working. They're working 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet. The wages aren't going up. But of course, he's not going to say that because when you're making millions of dollars being funded by a bunch of rich people who are putting you out there to spread their vitriol and indoctrination and hate and all that other stuff, because that's what all this is. People really need to peel back the onion and look deep within all of this stuff. Instead of, oh, they killed Charlie Kirk. It's the libtards and all, just people who have no kind of critical thinking skills. Where if you just want to deflate it as that. But let me get into the rest of the thing. I'm gonna give you my overall thought because I already know. Usually, when it comes to the politics, I always have to stop and start. So then he went further, criticizing celebratory post, saying that, and then I'm going online and I'm seeing people celebrating. Shame, shame. Well, give me the bell and have me in that nun's outfit and walk down the street singing shame as I ring that damn bell because I guess I'm one of them. I'm that fucking petty. I told y'all when they go low, I will tap dance on Earth's crust on the equator. I'll say. But then this ninja had the nerve to commend the New York Yankees for pausing Wednesday night's game against the Detroit Tigers to honor him. So we're honoring white supremacy. You're okay with racism. Tell you, give this man his tap dancing shoes. Go ahead, Sambo. Tap dance for massa. Because that's what you give every time. That's why your hairline is as far back as where it is. Because God's seen the type of coon and buffoon your black ass is. He said props to the New York Yankees organization last night for having a moment of silence. Yeah, and that's why they lost 11-1. I told you God don't like ugly. We're not supposed to condone stuff like this. But you know what? And I'm not even going to read the rest of his bullshit ass comment. So then reactions to his death included Team USA BMX rider Chelsea Wolfe, who faced scrutiny after posting celebratory messages on Instagram. MSNBC dismissed political analyst Matthew Dowd for suggesting Kirk's rhetoric led to his death. Carolina Panthers fired communications staffer Charlie Rock for social media posts downplaying the tragedy. But what about the guy over at Fox News who still got to keep his job after he condoned killing people with mental health issues and homeless people? He still get to keep his job, right? But when you actually point out the discrepancies and the racism that this man spewed in the hate against gay people, against black people, against women, against Muslims, against anybody who wasn't white and male, that's okay. But if you call it out, you get fired. Make it make sense. It just goes to follow the way that our country has become. We are in a fascist country right now, and the fact that people are still in denial about it, I don't know what to tell you at this point. So then they went and they said that he was pow pow by a lone gunman on Wednesday the 10th. And they said this kid by the name of Tyler Robinson was arrested in St. George, Utah on Friday. There was a lot of conflicting reports about him, talking about that he had a trans roommate and all this other stuff. I don't know where all that it was true. Then they said he was a Democrat. They trying to paint all this up. A lot of the stuff that's been coming out where they've been trying to push this whole narrative. Oh, a trans, and then he had a trans roommate. I got all the tea for y'all. So buckle up, buttercup, because we're going to break this shit down. So I'm not surprised at the end of the day that Steven would use his platform to tap dance like the coon he is in order to go viral and maintain his position at ESPN. Like I said, if Steven died tomorrow and Charlie was still alive, that racist wouldn't spit on his enlarged forehead if it was on fire. So maybe you should care about what his political beliefs are because he didn't see people like Steven as human. Charlie was not some self-made millionaire who woke up one morning to become the voice of the voiceless young generation. He was funded by rich people like Julie Fancelli and Foster Freeze. I would not be surprised if he was chosen because he was young, determined, and willing to do the dirty work in exchange for fame, fortune, good connections, and notoriety. This is what a lot of them do. Now, in his death, he's being treated like a martyr instead of a pariah, and all the pro responses have shown is basically the true colors of people and corporations who agree with his bigoted ideologies. I also noticed this too, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. who can be very heavy on the politics, and sometimes I gotta pull him back a little bit. I was like, you be calling people shit libs and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, you need to dial it back a little bit. Because I know you can be a little passionate and you're trying to get through people's heads, but sometimes you gotta I realize when I talk politics, you have to break it down because not everybody gets so heavily into understanding the critical thinking, the politics, sociology aspect, all that stuff. So you got to break things down into like Sesame Street term. There's no shade, but I'm just saying, like, you got to break things down in such terms where it makes it easy for people to understand and digest. Because not everybody, and sometimes I have to always tell myself this, that not everybody's going to think like I do in regards to talking about these things. And also, so look, I was having, as I was saying before, I was having a conversation with a friend who was experiencing the same thing that I was going through, and he said he's been seeing more and more suggested content that is anti-left, which oddly enough, according to them, includes liberals. I was like, no, liberals are more, they teeter more to the right. Like when you look at liberals, liberals are like Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Kamala Harris, where they will sit and lick the taint of people like Liz and Bill Cheney and Ronald Reagan. They follow more of the ideologies of Ronald Reagan than the Republicans do. And you seen recently they were how they a while back they was kikiing with George W. Bush. Wasn't he seen as a warmonger like 20 some odd years ago around the era of 9/11 and all that other stuff with his presidency? How easy we forget. I told you it was one big boys club. So he was saying like something another like my values and political beliefs or theory and knowledge are way too intact for me to get dragged by this towards the right wing. So yeah, if you notice a lot recently, there's been a lot more like when I've been talking about a lot of Charlie Kirk stuff, I've been noticing a lot more right wing propaganda teetering into a lot of the algorithms when I'm on Facebook, when I'm on Twitter, when I'm on a bunch of I don't go on Twitter that much, on Instagram especially. Like I told you, I went on Instagram of all places, that's where I seen Charlie Kirk get assassinated. Up close, the up close video. I thought they didn't allow stuff like that on Meta, but apparently they do. I thought I would have to just dodge like Neo with the bullets, like Neo in the Matrix, trying to avoid seeing it over on Twitter, Elon Musk Twitter. But no, go over there on Fuckerberg's Meta. That's where you see it. Excuse me. So it was and then also it was talking about like how technocrats who recently met up with Donald Trump, you know, for people like Zuckerberg, as I mentioned, Bill Gates and Tim Cook. So yeah, Apple, maybe I should be whispering because I got my phone next to my iPhone. Zuckerberg over there, Meta, Bill Gates and all of them, they're working overtime to fascistize the world. So when you notice like all the stuff on social media about how they're making Charlie Kirk to be about this damn saint when he was he was the personification of pure evil. Like if Michael Myers had a voice, it'd be him, just evil for no reason. But I always wondered, why is he the way he is? Why is Charlie Kirk so evil? Like, what made him into the person? Because I've always been interested in like what makes people the way they are. Like when you're so full of hate, or when you become a serial killer, whatever the case is. I was like, what was the thing that made you out to be what you are? So, people need to be more like they always want to talk about wokeism and all this other stuff. We need to be woke now more than ever. But before I get to there's this clip that I saw on TikTok, courtesy of Don Lemon, Twitter or TikTok, where this pastor said something that was so powerful. I was like, oh, I had to bring this to the show and have y'all watch it. But I want to reiterate something. So shout out to Eli McGowan over on Twitter. Excuse me, who posted this because a lot of people was coming out with so many conflicting reports and was saying stuff about regarding this whole Tyler Robinson situation. He said, just to recap, Tyler Robinson never once donated to Trump. Someone with the same name who's 55 years old did this from his town. So apparently there's somebody with the same name in the same town they grew up in or lived in donated to Trump. But people getting their stuff confused because I guess Tyler Robinson is such a unique name, right? There's zero evidence Lance Twiggs is trans. He has a deep voice and posts normal boarding and Rocket League content. So there's nothing on Lance's social media that even implicates that he's transgender. But this is the narrative they want to run with because it's the trans people's fault. It's the immigrants' fault. They so busy deporting immigrants, they couldn't even blame it on them this time because majority of them is gone. I know I'm exaggerating, but I'm just saying. Tyler Robinson was never a registered Republican. He was registered to vote, but he never registered as a party member. So this boy has never actually went to the polls. So no one knows what his voting, how he leans politically. Well, as far as like voting and stuff goes, because I did see a picture of him where he went as he was standing on Donald Trump's shoulders for Halloween. So maybe he was a Trumpian. Who knows? There's zero evidence he was ever part of the DSA. That was a different suspect of 4chan. There's zero evidence he was an active Mormon, though his family did post LDS content in the past. So they were saying, yeah, maybe hold off on your hot takes for 5 seconds because people be so quick to run with stuff. And you know, the media, they be so quick to jump on something because they want to perpetuate a certain belief and a certain ideology, and they want y'all to think emotionally instead of thinking logically. They want y'all to be in your feelings. They want to keep us fighting amongst each other. And you got Cash Patel cracked out ass getting all over social media, liking and retweeting stuff that shouldn't you be putting out statements? You ain't even find the person that did this. Apparently, the boy's father turned him in. So you're a dingbat who don't know what the hell he's doing. But child, let me tell you. So now the other day, remember when we talked? So last but certainly not least, before we get to the clip, remember the other day when we talked about um how there was it was the tweet as well as the video of this guy that said that he had spoken with somebody on the inside who truly believes that Charlie Kirk was unalived and it may have had something to do with Israel. But let me tell you something. A story came out, and I'm gonna read it to y'all, courtesy of the Gray Zone, who had the following to say. So we all gonna read this as a class. So they said a Trump insider and longtime friend of Charlie Kirk tells the Gray Zone how the assassinated conservative leader's turning point on Israeli influence provoked a private backlash from Netanyahu allies that left him angry and afraid. The source said anxiety spread within the Trump administration after an apparent Israeli spying operation was uncovered. Charlie Kirk rejected an offer earlier this year from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to arrange a massive new infusion of Zionist money into his Turning Point USA organization, America's largest conservative youth organization, according to a longtime friend of the slain commentator speaking on the condition of anonymity. See, now it's like Israel's already indoctrinated this country, has done it for decades, I'll say. Now I tell you, they're trying to get a hold on our youth. They're trying to get a hold on Gen Z and soon Gen Alpha. But I feel like Gen Alpha is breaking the chains. They're all pro-Palestine. They're against all this other mess that's going on. So, and they're starting to see the tide is turning where the Republicans and the Democrats alike were starting to come to the conclusion that this whole genocide in Gaza is out of control. You saw a lot of people all of a sudden finding the balls to speak about Free Palestine last night at the Emmys. So the tides are turning. And Yahoo is not liking it because he had his little Sanderson sister spell cast all over of the American government for so damn long that that hold is soon to be null and void. Come, little children, I'll take you away. Remember that song from Sarah Jessica Parker? Into the world of enchantment. So it went on to also say, okay, so let's get back into the rest of the story. So now, in the weeks leading up to his September 10th assassination, Kirk had come to loathe the Israeli leader regarding him as a bully. Kirk was disgusted by what he witnessed inside the Trump administration, where Netanyahu sought to personally dictate the president's personnel decisions and weaponize Israeli assets like billionaire donor Miriam Adelson to keep the White House firmly under its thumb. How many times have I told y'all that Donald Trump has taken money from the Adelsons? Well, he can't take him from Sheldon. Sheldon dead. So now you got Miriam, who's been throwing little, making it rain on Donald Trump like a big fat gross stripper on top of a stank ass pole in one of the dingiest clubs in all of America. Maybe we'll say it's in Alabama. Sorry, Alabama, you gotta take the stray. But doing all of that, she making it rain on him so that way they could occupy what's left of Gaza and then soon the West Bank. So then by the following month, Kirk had become the target of a sustained private campaign of intimidation and free-floating fury by wealthy and powerful allies of Netanyahu, figures he described in an interview as Jewish leaders and stakeholders. He was afraid of them, the source emphasized. Kirk was 18 years old when he launched, you know, his company, Tapusa. Why is that? It should be called T Pussy. In 2012, from its inception, his career was propelled by Zionist donors, who showered his young organization with money through neoconservative outfits like the David Horowitz Freedom Center. He repaid his wealthy backers over the years by unleashing a relentless fire hose of anti Palestinian and Islamophobic diatribes, accepting propaganda trips to Israel, and sternly shutting down nationalist forces, challenging his support for Israel during T-Pusa events. In the Trump era, new American Gentiles had proved more valuable to the self proclaimed Jewish state than Charlie Kirk. But as Israel's genocidal assault on the besieged Gaza Strip drove an unprecedented backlash within grassroots right wing circles, where only 24% of younger, I should say, Republicans, now sympathize with Israel over the Palestinians, Kirk began a shift. So, yeah, the money and everything was great. He was willing to do your bidding, he was willing to bend over and touch his toes for all the gifts, all the trips, all the money. But once his constituents, the kids, the younger people that he was cucking to, that he was a voice for, started to shift, the tide started to turn. You know, a lot of these kids these days, they go off vibes. They don't go off of like common sense and critical thinking, and so they go off vibes. However the moment shifts, however they're feeling, they go with feelings. Apparently, well, and look, feelings aren't facts, but this is how people are. He started to change, and when you're taking money from all these people, they want a return on their investment. That's how business works, and that's why you see people like Donald Trump being like, leave it, don't do anything, because Donald Trump probably if he goes against what Netanyahu and them is doing, he gonna be next. And what y'all gonna do? Blame that on the trans too? So they said at times he told the Israeli line, spreading disinformation about babies beheaded by Hamas on October 7th and denying the famine imposed on the population of Gaza. Yet he simultaneously ceded to his base, wondering aloud if Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli intelligence asset, which those were rumors, questioning whether the Israeli government allowed the October 7th attacks to proceed in order to advance long-term political goals. I believe that. And parroting narrative familiar to his most vociferous critic on the right, and where they're trying to prop up Nick Fuentes, who has kind of been going back and forth. And then I'm glad they brought this up in this article because I was going to bring this up too. Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly did a recent thing together where they were talking about how um, they had conversations and kind of alluding to that Charlie Kirk was scared about some stuff that was going on behind the scenes in regards of taking these money from these billionaires, all this other stuff, and a lot of the mess that was going on with that. Um, and he also said that he was going through a spiritual transformation. We mean that he was actually trying to turn a corner and wasn't going to be as evil and hateful as he was anymore, and they didn't like that. So I don't know, but yeah, I just wanted to add that with this whole thing. Before we get up out of here, move on to the next thing. I want to get to this TikTok that I had came across of Pastor Howard John Wesley talking about Charlie Kirk. So when you hear people out here like Stephen A. Smith and that forehead trying to tell people how to feel about somebody who didn't see it for them, maybe you need to watch this video I'm about to show y'all, and then maybe you'll change your mind. But when you cut to a certain thing and you want to keep your job, I don't think someone like Stephen A. Smith will ever change. I mean, didn't he throw Shannon Sharp under the bus to save his own ass? I don't trust people like him. Like I told you, Samuel L. Jackson from Django Unchained. But anyway, let's play the clip.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who are mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home, tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. I am overwhelmed. Charlie Kirk did not.
And look, he said what he said, and I agree 110% on what he had to say on that. It's because at the end of the day, how you die does not redeem how you live, and a lot of y'all need to understand that. It's like, no, you don't get absolved from how you treated people when you was working on this earth. If you actually want to be remembered for doing good things, you need to do good things while you're still here. It's the same thing like when Trump told us about, oh yeah, I want to get into heaven. Also, I said, well, sir, the way you've been acting, the way you've been treating people your entire life, you really thinking that the pearly gates gonna open for your big ass? I don't think so. They Charlie Kirk is saving your seat. Where? Down there. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards of what Stephen A. Smith had to say about people celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination? I feel like I said all I need to say in this long ass clip. It's probably going to be 20, 25 minutes. But anyway, so I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are, respectfully, of this story in the comments down below.